Hi, I'm Ron.
And I'm Marlies, and we're going to give you a short presentation on when does a Hebrew day begin, dusk or dawn. A study on the true meaning of evening according to Hebrew definitions.
When is the Hebrew evening?
In order to understand the word Ereb, or evening, there are several other terms that must be understood as well. This will be a brief examination of 5 separate units given on day 1 of creation.
Have you been interested in when the Hebrew evening occurs, as seen and proven by the witness in the scriptures?
Have you ever considered going to the original Hebrew language for the definitions of Ereb, the Hebrew word that has been translated into English as
Evening. Comparisons of Hebrew letters.
The word Ereb, evening, consists of 3 Hebrew letters, Ayin, Resh, and Bet, and they look like this. You'll see a representation of the ancient Paleo on top and the modern Hebrew, the flame letters at the bottom. Hebrew is read from right to left, the opposite of English. We must be very aware of this. This word Ereb is used 136 times in 129 verses in the Hebrew Concordance of the King James Version. Personally, I equate the level of importance on this word equal to oxygen. No, I'm not exaggerating here. It really is that important. Strong's Concordance has given Ereb the number of H6153, and it seems everyone has accepted that designation.
First 2 units identified.
The first day of creation houses 5 separate units or components found within the first 24-hour cycle. They are light, H21:6, darkness, H28:22, darkness, H39:15, Ereb, H61:53, Boker, H12:42.
First mention of Ereb in Genesis.
The first usage of this word Ereb is found in Genesis 1:5. We need to look at this very carefully because there are those who desire to place the Ereb evening in a location where Yahuwah has not placed it.
First mention of Ereb in Genesis.
Let's examine verse 4 first, as it sets the foundation for this interesting word Ereb. And Elohim saw the light, that it was good, and Elohim separated the light, or from the darkness, Choshek. Bereshit, Genesis 1 verse 4.
The first 2 units are
Light, H21:6, or darkness, H28:22, Choshek.
Genesis 1:5, first division of light, H2:16, and darkness, H28:22.
And Elohim saw the light, H21:6, that it was good, and Elohim separated the light, H21:6, or from the darkness, H28:22, Choshek. Bereshit, Genesis 1 verse 4. Note carefully that Yahuwah separated the light, or, and the darkness, Choshek. This darkness, H28:22, Choshek, is first mentioned in Genesis 1 verse 2. It is an evil contaminated atmosphere that resulted from a very momentous event to be discussed later.
Darkness given another definition.
Upon the separation of light, H21:6, and darkness, H28:22, in verse 4, another identity is brought forth called Lail, H39:15, in verse 5. And Elohim called the light, H21:6, or day, and the darkness, H28:22, Choshek, he called night, H39:15, Lail. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, one day. Bereshit, Genesis 1 verse 5. This Lael, age 3915, is likened to the night darkness we see during our night season today.
Third unit brought forth.
Note carefully that we have seen three separate units given at this point in day 1 of creation. They are light, age 21:6, darkness, age 28:22, evil contaminated atmosphere, darkness, age 39:15, night, the third unit. And Elohim called the light, age 21:6, or day, and the darkness, age 28:22, Choshek, he called night, age 39:15, Lael, Bereshit, Genesis 1 verse 5a.
Genesis 1:5b, fourth and fifth units given.
In Genesis 1, 4 and 5, there are a total of 5 units named by Yahuwah as being fully part of the first cycle of the week. Having already identified 3 units of the 24-hour cycle, we need to look closely at the last part of Genesis 1 verse 5 to identify the last 2 units. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there came to be evening, Ereb, and there came to be morning, Boker, one day. Bereshit, Genesis 1 verse 5. Here we see the last 2 units, Ereb, evening, and Boker, morning. Another generic term for both evening and morning is twilight. This is the final list of 5 units for day 1 of creation. Light, age 21:6. Darkness, age 28:22, evil contaminated atmosphere. Darkness, age 39:15, night, third identity. Ereb, age 61:53, evening. Boker, age 12:42, morning.
Addressing possible confusion, darkness, H 28:22, and darkness, H 39:15.
And Elohim called the light, age 21:6, or day, and the darkness, age 28:22, Choshek, he called night, age 39:15, Lael, Bereshit, Genesis 1:5a. Perhaps you have noticed on day 1 of creation, the word darkness is listed in 2 different Hebrew word numbers as darkness, age 28:22, darkness, age 39:15. Why does Yahuwah apply 2 different units with the same word to one phrase of the cycle? Would this not be confusion? Answer, yes. To us it could be confusion. However, in Hebrew, age 28:22 and age 39:15 are 2 very different meanings. Therefore, this area needs more clarification because there's a lack of word choices when translating from one language to another, especially to English.
There is no confusion in Hebrew between darkness 28:22 and darkness H 39:15.
And Elohim called the light, age 21:6, or day, and the darkness, age 28:22, Choshek, he called night, age 39:15, Lael, Bereshit, Genesis 1 verse 5a. There is no need for confusion between these 2 Hebrew word numbers that have the same word of darkness in the English language. They have completely different word definitions. A. Darkness, age 28:22, is basically an evil contaminated atmosphere that came about due to a disastrous event which happened between verses 1 and 2. In simple terms, this age 28:22 darkness needed cleansing to establish the unit Yahuwah calls B. Darkness, age 39:15, or what we now call night.
First things first.
And Elohim called the light, age 21:6, or day, and the darkness, age 28:22, Choshek, he called night, age 39:15, Lael, Bereshit, Genesis 1 verse 5a. In the first part of Genesis 1 verse 5, the light season that is named day is direct light, or for us today, actual direct sunlight, when the sun is above the horizon. Darkness, age 39:15, night, is the total absence of light, or for us today, the total absence of sunlight. So what are these other two identities, Ereb and Boker, twilights?
Time to examine Ereb.
The reason for this study is because some feel the two units of Ereb and Boker, or twilights, have nothing in common with the night season. But do these twilights of Ereb and Boker have anything in common with the light season, where there is direct sunlight? For clarification, direct sunlight is when the sun is above the horizon. Because of these questions, we must examine some Hebrew definitions to arrive at a concrete conclusion. Our concentration will be on the word Ereb. Unlike the word darkness, the definitions of Ereb are tied directly to Boker. Because Strong's is common, let's start looking at age 6153, where the root word is declared to be age 6150. We will then compare to several other sources.
Strong's Ereb H6150.
Age 6150 Ereb, with age 6148 through the idea of covering with a texture, to grow dusky at sundown, be darkened toward evening. Age 6151 Ereb, to commingle, mingle, self, mix. Age 6153 Ereb, from age 6150 dusk, day, evening, tide, night. Age 6151 Ereb, from age 6148 the web or transverse threads of cloth, also a mixture or mongrel race. Arabia, mingled people, mixed multitude, woof. Note, the base theme for this word is mixture, mingling.
Etymological Dictionary of the Hebrew Language, Ereb H6150.
Ereb, some definitions apply to light, to set, said especially of the sun, to enter, to go in, to go down. It became evening, it grew dark, sunset, evening, mixed, to mix, was mingled, mixture, woof. Question, what is woof? Let's check the Webster's Dictionary. Answer, woof, to weave, the threads that cross the warp, the weft, in other words, a mixing.
In the next couple definitions we will use for Ereb, from all the dictionaries we will use, none of those use the Masoretic vowel pointing. The Hebrew English Lexicon by John Parker, 1762, Ereb.
Evening, to mix, mingle, be mingled, a mixture, mixed multitude, rabble of flies or insects. J. Parker's gives texts where flies apply. The mixers, mixed ones, light and spirit mixed together. The heavens or celestial fluid consists of this mixture, to be darkened, duskily obscured. Bain ha-arbayim, between the evenings, or more literally, between the mixtures, at sunset, when the cool dark air mixes, or night air mixes with it. The evening air from the western or darkened part of the heavens begins to mix with the day, which mixture continues till night. When the day is overpowered, the darkness prevails, and the mixture of daylight ceases.
Gesenius Lexicon, Blue Letter Bible, online, Ereb.
According to the opinion of the Karaite and Samaritans, the time between sunset and deep twilight. The Pharisees, however, and the Rabbinists considered the time when the sun began to descend to be called the first evening, Arab, little evening, when it begins to draw toward evening, and the second evening to be the real sunset. The Pharisees and the Rabbinists Talmud do not consider the original Hebrew definitions of the word Ereb. Instead, they declare, manipulate, that Ereb, evening, has the meaning of when the sun starts to lower itself in the sky. Thus they declare that the start of the first evening is at the point of noon, when the sun appears to descend in the sky. Let's look at a graphic and determine if there is any possibility of darkness arriving to begin the mixture with the light of day at this time.
They believe that at a second past midday, the sun is starting to set, adding to Scripture again.
The Pharisees and Rabbinists tell us that when the sun starts to go down at noon, that is the first Ereb evening. Questions. How many times have you heard of these two evenings? With the first one starting at noon as the sun begins to go down in the sky? Did you ever question the origin of this concept?
There are two mixtures. One is at the break of day, which is called dawn, and there is one after sunset, which is called dusk, which are located in the two gray areas on this chart. One on the left, which is dawn, one on the right, which is dusk. Has anyone seen darkness in the afternoon? The rabbinists and rabbis and whomever want you to believe that darkness can appear with direct sunlight in the sky.
Okay, at this point it seems quite applicable to read Luke 12:2. Meanwhile, when an innumerable crowd of people had gathered together so that they trampled one another, he began to say to his taught ones, First, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. And whatever is concealed shall be revealed, and whatever is hidden shall be known. Luke 12:1 and 2. Next we will read Mark 7:6-9 and 13. And he answering said to them, Well did Yeshayahu prophesy concerning you hypocrites, as it has been written, This people respect me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. And in vain do they worship me, teaching as teachings the commands of men. Forsaking the command of Elohim, you hold fast the tradition of men. And he said to them, Well do you set aside the command of Elohim in order to guard your tradition. Mark 7:6-9. Nullifying the word of Elohim through your tradition, which you have handed down, and many such traditions you do. Mark 7:13.
Further comment for Gesenius Lexicon.
Foreigners, strangers, hence foreign kings who made alliance with the Israelites. Note, on the second definition, we see once more the theme of a mixture, mingling. The comment made about the Pharisees and Rabbinists' concept of the Ereb evening beginning at noon is extremely interesting to say the least. Here is a comment asking a question. Yahuwah named the time of direct sunlight or light day. Are the rabbis and Pharisees placing themselves on Yahuwah's throne when they overrule Yahuwah's declaration by naming this specific time of Or, age 21:6, light as evening? By the first usage in the scriptures, the afternoon evening does not align to any divine example.
Hebrew Lexicon, W.H. Barker, 1776, Ereb.
Evening, to mix, mingle, the evening, when darkness mixes with light, to be darkened, obscured, to intermeddle with, surety, to engage for another, to mortgage. Nehemiah 5:3. The woof, intermixed with the warp, a mixed multitude, swarm, to trade, intermix in dealing, to be sweet and pleasant, where the mixtures are agreeable. The willow, it being of mixed color, pale on one side and green on another, a wilderness where vegetables are mixed and confused, the weft, evening, the heavens, or mixtures.
A Hebrew and English lexicon of the Old Testament, 1906, Ereb, based on William Gesenius, translated by Edward Robinson.
Evening, mix, mixture, mixed company, interwoven, swarm, pledge to give in exchange, a surety for exchange, token. In the phrase between the evenings, probably between sunset and dark, for all combinations with boker, morning, become evening, grow dark. 1 Samuel 17:16, doing it at morning and at evening, west, place of sunset, be black, black as a raven. Again, there is a heavy emphasis on a mixing of the sunset to darkness period when considering time. Question: is there a mixing of light and darkness before the sun sets?
The Hebrew and Aramaic lexicon of the Old Testament, Kohler and Baumgartner, Ereb.
To participate in, get involved with someone, to turn into evening, metaphor. To go down, descent of the sun, sunset, at evening, between the two evenings, that is, between sunset and nightfall, together with a type of weaving, woven material, mixing, mixed race, a willow. Comments. After reading the definitions from a variety of different sources, the central theme of mixings of separate substances or units is very distinct. It is only in these two twilight portions of the 24-hour cycle, the morning boker twilight and the evening twilight, that the mixing of light and darkness occurs and the word ereb can apply. However, this word is only used in conjunction with boker when referencing the morning twilight. Yahuwah has broken down the 24-hour cycle into 4 separate segments, so we are able to conduct our lives accordingly. Let's examine a linear graphic first, and then a circular one, to be sure we are all on the same page.
Light, darkness, evening and morning, according to Genesis 1.
Most of us are Greek linear-minded people, so this chart should be easy to relate to. Morning, Ereb, twilight mixture of indirect light and darkness. Evening, Ereb, twilight mixture of indirect light, darkness. The grey boxes are the areas where a mixing of light and darkness occurs. These locations for evening are according to the Hebrew language definitions. These twilights cannot be found before the sun sets, nor after the sun has risen, beginning with day 4's sunlight. Direct sunlight does not allow for any mixing actions to occur.
Genesis 1:1-5, order and alignment.
Yahuwah brought forth light first, evening mixture follows second. Next, the night season passes. Last, boker, morning, twilight arrives, finishing the first day, or day 1. On days 1 to 6, we see that Yahuwah is busy during the light season with the events of creation. Then we read that the evening, Ereb, came to be. To fulfill the mixing definition and description of Ereb, evening, the light must be present first to provide a base for the ensuing darkness mixing action with the light. And there came to be evening, Ereb, evening. After the Ereb evening, darkness occurred. The night season, darkness, Lael, passed by unannounced. Then the boker, dawn, morning, light triggers the termination of the previous 24-hour period.
Boker to boker is the beginning and the end of a 24-hour day. Yahuwah's days of creation are dawn to dawn. Conclusion for Areb.
Not one day can begin with evening, Ereb, because the evening contains light received from the day season. It is impossible for evening to begin any new day because light must be present. Light begins everything. Have you noticed that Yahuwah does not even mention the sun, neither in rising nor in setting, for the first day of creation? Why? Because the sunlight could not begin the day until it was commanded to. But from the beginning, the evening unit always belonged to the light season because it has the mixing of light with the night.
Conclusion for Areb.
Why do you suppose Yahuwah did not begin the first day of creation with light from a created sun? Could it be this is his planned system or his built-in preventative method to restrain us from worshipping the sun? Let's always look to the light for the beginning of each new day, the first light that breaks the day before any sun is seen above the horizon.